welcome to the Couple Money Podcast. Every day I'm driving around Raleigh, I see for sale signs. According to Realtor.com, almost 3,000 are listed for sale right now, and in the last 3 years, prices have been rising. As of today, the median listing price is $314,000. For couples looking to score a deal on their first or next house, it may seem difficult. Fortunately, Louis Guillama from Daymark Realty is here to help. In this episode, we'll get into how to decide what home features suit you, how to find a deal on your next place, and how to see if a fixer-upper is a gem in the rough or a disaster. Your home is most likely the biggest purchase you're going to make, so it really does pay to be prepared now before you sign those papers. Finding a house that fits you isn't as easy as TV makes it, but having someone experienced, someone who can guide you, can make the process much less stressful.
That kind of falls on the advisory capacity, being a real estate agent. And you really have to do a good job of listening to your clients to try to pick out little statements that they'll make pertaining to either their, what they do in their leisure time, their type of business that they're in, activities they enjoy with their families, etc., to try and run through your head the types of properties that you've encountered out in the field and where would, what would be the best location to take them to.
Louis works at Daymark Realty, which is owned by Coastal Federal Credit Union. We used them when we were hunting for our current place. With Anita Oxford from the team helping us out, we got a great deal on our home that we love. And that made me reach out to Coastal for this episode. Besides working with clients as a real estate agent, Louis also leads seminars for first-time home buyers. But even with his technical and practical expertise, he still encourages clients to be more involved and ask questions. The first step is knowing what you're looking for. Besides your budget and location, which are very important, the two of you should sit down and discuss what features you need in a home and what features you want. It's going to be a big part of your life, so plan accordingly.
I always advise clients to think, in terms of real estate, to think 5 to 7 years out into the future and try to make a decision based on that. I have a lot of clients that try to buy a home that's very convenient to their current job, but then you hear that they're going to school, and so there's a very, very likely possibility that they're going to be changing careers while they're in the house. And so that'll have a big impact on their quality of life. So in the same way with children, I've had clients that have looked at small condos or small townhomes, but at the same time they're talking about, well, I can't wait to start a family, and say, well, hold on a second. You may not be well suited for a 2-bedroom townhouse if you're thinking about having a family. You definitely want to look beyond your immediate needs and plan out where you're going to be in 5 years and buy accordingly.
As you're hunting and looking at houses, you're probably looking for those that match your ideal and the dream you have. We all do to some degree.
People in the day of DIY network and home and garden television, they want absolute turnkey properties. They're not willing to think about, how much value is going to be added if I remove that wallpaper. I mean, I'll give you a clear example, and it's not just one segment of the market. This affects a lot of people. They'll walk into a house where, in most cases, an investor has bought it, and they've put down new floors and fresh paint, and they got shiny stainless steel appliances, but they're going to be paying, top of the market pricing for that kind of house, instead of the house that's being sold right down the street in the same neighborhood that might be owned by a smoker, where the carpet has a couple of wrinkles in it, but it's essentially the same layout as that nicer looking home, but it's available at a much steeper discount. And I always feel that if you buy at the top of the market, there's only one place to go but down for the first couple of years, because you're buying it in the best condition that it's at or that it's going to be at.
And while there's some benefits to going turnkey, you're most likely going to pay way too much or more than you expected. You can get some great deals and a wonderful house if you know what to look for.
Now, one of the biggest pitfalls that first-time homebuyers fall into is being attracted to the best-looking home versus the best laid-out home.
Changing the layout of a place can be expensive, so it's in your best interest, financially and, let's be honest, sanity-wise, to make sure the place is functional for you.
And so I always try to advise my clients to look for the gem in the rough. Don't be attracted to the most, to the prettiest looking house. Buy the ugliest looking house, but not necessarily one that's dysfunctional. One where the layout works. You're going to be there for a few years, so you have plenty of time to improve the property. And that's the same philosophy I've always followed with my wife, and we've always done extremely well with our property purchases. We've never lost money, not even close, even in bad markets.
You have to overlook some of the style choices and paint colors the previous owner made. Unconsciously or not, we may gravitate towards some homes or be repelled by others based on cosmetics, and that can be a huge mistake.
We had a property that was on the market with another firm, and it was on the market for 6 months. It was an entry-level home. Price was about $145,000. And it was on there for 6 months, and it never sold. So then our firm was hired to sell the property, and I went in there. And the only thing that I noticed about the property was one wall in the master bedroom was painted dark blue. And that's not common. I mean, most buyers tend to gravitate to the neutral paint colors. Makes the room a lot more spacious, and so it's more appealing. So we suggested that we neutralize that one wall color. Just as one wall out of the entire house. So we put the house on the market 2 weeks later, and it sold in 3 days for the same price that it was listed at before. So people tend to make buying decisions on an emotional level. They don't look at a property for what it is. They look at it for the romantic notion of what they're looking for. And so I think that most buyers would, realize a tremendous benefit if they just look at the essence of the home and not be so focused on the aesthetics of the home in its current condition. Because we all make the property our own home. And that's part of the fun of owning your own house, that you can do that. I mean, when you're renting, you're prohibited from making any alterations to the property. But now it's your house, feel free to do things within reason and within the building code to put your own sort of touch on it. And I think that's part of the ownership experience that a lot of people overlook, especially when they're buying their first house.
Another reason you don't want to be swayed by aesthetics is because sometimes they can be a distraction for more important concerns.
I just recently showed a house in Durham to some first-time homebuyers they just were smitten with the home. But upon closer examination, there was mold, really bad mold growth underneath the paint. It's been very challenging in the last 10 years in real estate because there has been such a flood of investors, especially into the entry home market. So these investors are buying these distressed homes. Some of them could be ravaged with mold. I don't want to paint with a broad brush and say that all investors are evil. Quite a few of them have only the profit margin in view. And so they cut a lot of corners in making the home as presentable as possible.
Not only has Louis done renovation work, his parents were both full-time realtors and part-time builders. In fact, Louis had a great suggestion about checking the part of the house that isn't staged, the crawl space.
And that's part of the house that very few people ever look in is the crawl space. And I always tell my clients that the truth of a home lies in its crawl space. If you look in a crawl space and it's clean and dry and in good condition, that's a healthy home. That's a clear sign of a healthy home. And if you see the insulation is just dirty and hanging down and falling apart, and there's water stains on the walls, that's very indicative of a potential problem that's going to impact their enjoyment of the home and their ability to sell it down the road.
Even if the house passes muster and you're moving forward, make sure at least one of you is there for the home inspection.
The inspection process, it is so critically important for people to be there, to talk with the inspector, to meet them, and do a quick walk around with them, once the inspection is completed, to make sure that they understand the gravity of any items that might have been identified, and also to provide the inspector a second set of eyes and maybe something that was overlooked.
Knowing about the quirks and construction of your house will help you be better prepared as homeowners and reduce the chances of having buyer's remorse. Buying a fixer-upper can be financially and personally a smart move, but it's important to have someone knowledgeable in your corner.
And that's where working with an experienced realtor can really pay off, because I personally have a lot of experience in renovating homes, renovating bathrooms, complete renovations of kitchens, you name it, I've pretty much done it in my lifetime. So I have a pretty good idea of what's involved, the skills that are needed, and more importantly, the amount of money that might be required, even if you do it yourself.
But of course, the final word is yours. So before you sign on the line, make sure this is the right house for you. Special thanks again to Louis Guillama for all of his help and advice. If you're local here in the Triangle, please check out Daymark Realty. They have a wonderful team. Besides Louis, I highly recommend meeting Anita Oxford. She helped us find her home, and we're able to say that it's been a blessing and not a burden. And if you're looking for a better banking solution, try out credit unions in your area. You'll be a member and not a number. We're partial to Coastal since they're taking very good care of us, but there's some other wonderful ones out there. Couple Money Podcast is made possible because of listeners like you. Every tweet, Facebook like, and pin gets the word out. Thank you so much for your support. Next episode, we're going tech, specifically smartphones. Beside the big four, did you know that there are innovators out there who have the coverage and smartphone data plans you want at a fraction of the price you're probably paying? Right now, my bill is less than $30 for 2 smartphones thanks to Republic Wireless. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It's free and easy. We're out there on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and more. You can also grab the feed off our site so you can listen to the show from whatever podcast service app you prefer. And if you enjoyed the podcast and find it helpful, could you please leave a review? It takes about a minute, but it'll be a huge help. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week. Take care.